evening, and welcome to another episode of Mayday Moments. Before we get the show rocking and rolling, I just want to give a quick shout out for our 12 Days of Christmas giveaway. Today being day one, we were giving away 1 month access to of your content on our Roku channel. So that went to the amazing Dawn Hill. Tomorrow, we have a coaching call hosted by myself to help you become unstoppable. And anyways, there's 12 days here, lots of gifts, lots of prizes, books, other Roku channel gifts, as well as I also have gifts by another coach that is willing, that's giving up 2 1-hour sessions as well. And all you have to do is just go to the Google form and register today to get your chance to win one of our amazing prizes. So just wanted to put that out there so that everybody could join in the festivities, because Christmas is coming whether you want it to or not. And with that, hey, this is my amazing co-host, Mark. Mark, how is your week going so far?
Week's going good, Dorothy. It's ups and downs as normal, but happy to be on, happy to be talking to everyone, making it through the holiday season, and anxiously waiting for Christmas to get here, and then moving on past it. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for support we've been getting. Please continue to share this with your friends. And we're continuing tonight with our spouses theme, talking to the unsung heroes and the people behind the uniform, behind the front lines, behind the men and women that serve our country, that stay here and keep things on the home front. And with that, I'll let Dorothy introduce our guest tonight.
Woohoo! All right, I have the distinct honor and privilege of bringing Vanessa Donaldson to the show tonight. Vanessa's husband is a retired Marine, and so she knows what it's like to be in the thick of military life and what it is like for after the transition into civilian life. So, Vanessa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dorothy Ann and Mark. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I know Vanessa is no stranger to this channel, but I mean, she is an amazing spouse, and you do so much for the military community. So we thought, what better voice than yours to join the collective? And we were talking a little bit before in the green room, and just just mentioning back on Veterans Day. I know that was a little bit ago. Veterans Day for the US and Remembrance Day for us here in Canada, that the veterans that we were talking to had definitely said the spouses are the unsung heroes. They're at home, that are getting everything, all the family together while they're off in deployment, or, as Mark was a firefighter, so his wife was at home making sure that everything was back there while he was out on duty, doing those brutal 12, 24-hour shifts and things like that. So we just want to honor you tonight, Vanessa, and say thank you for doing your part so that your husband can, keep his mind focused on his job. But what was it like for you as a military spouse? I just have to ask that question first off.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a loaded question. What was it like? Coming from someone who didn't have a lot of military background in my family. My dad served in the Army, but I didn't even know much about it. He passed away, and I was a younger age, and I didn't know till they folded the flag at his funeral. And I'm like, why is there a flag getting folded? I was totally lost to that part of his life. So wish I could have known him more in that perspective. But so I didn't know at all what I was getting into. And as a young military spouse, just even my dating years, I met my husband in Africa. I was in the Peace Corps, building wells, doing my own thing, wearing my Birkenstocks. It's in my little book coming out, which I'll talk about later. I had no idea what kind of a lifestyle and a challenge that would be. And once that ring was on the finger, shotgun wedding, ring on the finger, courthouse, military ID, wrap everything up in a Ryder truck, drive cross country, start our new life at Camp Pelton Marine Corps Base. And then I think within a few months later, I got to go on a deployment. And I literally said, a D what? What is that word? Never heard the word deployment before. little did I know it would be, 4 or 5 of them over time. So it was trial by fire. It was crazy roller coaster. It was like, oh my gosh, what have I just done? And perspective, like statistically wise, military marriages fall apart like 50-60%. It's just so much stress, so much separation, so much of the unknown, and it's hard to survive with that. But luckily, I'll just preface too by saying we both were believers and we had our faith to hang on to, and that's probably what grounded us, stabilized us here. Actually, just a few weeks ago, we celebrated our 27-year anniversary, which is why we're camping. We're camping a lot, but we're in the Keys. We keep coming back to the Keys. Imagine that, warm tropical weather fishing. I don't know who would. So it was a roller coaster of different seasons, but the faith was the foundation. And then with every season, support, it took a village. I mean, my mom got in a routine of, hey, when's he deploying again? Okay. And she was retired living in Germany, and she'd come help me for months with the children. And that was a blessing, because you're moving around base to base. You're just the family unit. You've got no extended family, so.
And so your husband didn't prepare you at all before the ring.
Right, which is why I'm there to help prepare those other spouses a little more. No, we
God
were just
bless your husband.
He probably knew I would run away if he gave me too much information, and I just I'm all in, but yeah, there was not a lot of preparation when we were so much fun living overseas and doing this Peace Corps experience. And then he ended up in Italy. I ended up in Italy. Like, we just had, my mom said our whole dating path was like already the honeymoon. We just, put the cart before the horse or whatever. So we were too busy just enjoying life and traveling by train around with the Eurail. And, I'm speaking French when we go to a French speaking country. My mom's German. I'm spitting out German when we go there. We didn't go into those nitty gritties. And now I'm like, oh, people actually meet with pastors before while they're dating, and they go through all the questions like, where do you think we're going to live? And how many children are we going to have? And all that. And no, Vanessa does everything just like full on in, and we'll figure it out as we go, which is why the van life is probably ideal for me. It's just like, we'll figure it out as we go. I'm not going to live with fear and what if, just like figure it out as we go. So, but yeah, not a lot of preparation.
And the key question, it comes 9 months after.
Exactly. Yeah.
There is something to be said about that. Figure it out as you go, and not overthinking.
Right.
But I want to ask you, Vanessa, that first, traveling around, and I do want to talk to you about the Peace Corps experience at some point, just because I know that that had to touch a lot of people and is very impactful. But what caught me was, you got married, loaded everything up, moved your entire life across country, and just as you're starting to get established as newlyweds, as newly married, he's leaving.
Yeah.
And what was at that time?
What was going on in my mind?
Yeah.
Yeah. Complete shock, numbness. I can't believe this is happening. I mean, it's just silly because, yes, this is what happens when you marry into the military, but just a lot of shock and I think I was with my baby stroller walking down the street. We were Camp Pendleton Marine Corps base. So San Clemente was where we couldn't even get on base the first year of housing. It was totally packed full. So we had to go on a 1-year wait list to even move on the base. So he had to not only drive cross country, but figure out where we're all going to live for 3 months or for a year with a baby and, our rider truck of equipment and help, a bed and a crib, So it was, I was with the stroller going down the street, Del Mar Avenue. I mean, it's like one of those defining moments. And a woman passed me and she gave me a flyer. And, what do we do with most flyers, especially in Vegas? Don't pick them up or don't even look. But other places, you throw them on the ground or whatever. So that one I held on to, and she passed me fine. I kept on walking and said, thank you. And the flyer was an invitation to a local church. It was like a little startup church with 5 families, and they met on the beach just in this little wedding venue. They let them use the upstairs for services on Sunday. And our worship was literally like press a tape recorder with the pastor's wife pressing the tape recorder, playing some music, and then we're all clapping along and looking out at the Pacific Ocean. But I went home with that flyer and said, I realize I can't do this alone. My husband's leaving me and I'm with a baby. I cannot do this alone. I need help. I need a higher power. I need something to support me. And so I'm one to raise my hand. I'm not going to be in that corner like, I'll do it all myself. I'm like, help me. I can't do this. So I brought the flyer home and said, honey, do you mind if we like check out this church before you go? Because I'm going to need some support when you're gone. And it's been on the back burner and it needs to be like front and center now. And, you know, we go to God too when we're more in crisis, right? Not time when everything's falling apart, not when things are good. So I learned to build that relationship now in good times and bad. But thank God, was on the same page. We both had enough faith that he said, yeah, let's go check it out. And we went there, and that became my support group, my family. When he was away, I had the Bible right on his pillow instead of my husband's head, it was the Bible right there. And I ended up going back for my master's degree. The first deployment, well, we're jumping forward a lot, but the first deployment, I was just very depressed, very like, I can't do this on my own. Everything was it was like a whirlwind. Round 2, you kind of get it together a little more. You start picking up like, I can do this. I'm going to be overcome. I can do this. I can call the bank. I can do this. I can do some moves. I can fix the car if something happens. So you get a little more empowered. You build that empowerment year by year. But the second year, this family from the church community, I think it was called Breakers Church, they actually took care of my child too. They said, I want to go back to school. I don't even have daycare set up. Like, what am I going to do? And they said, go back. It was a base program for military and spouses could join in. They said, go back, work on your master's. We'll keep your daughter on, the evenings, Friday nights and Saturday, Sunday for the day. So you can work on that till your husband gets back. So that's kind of like, it takes a village thing. And I look back at like, wow, that was like the body of Christ really coming together for a new young spouse, mother, that was showing there with open arms, like, I don't know what to do. And people helped walk me through it. And I want to be that guide and that mentor and that helper for people that are, military spouses that are 2 steps behind me, that are just stuck because it's just a season. I've overcome it. Other women have overcome it. We'll get over it, but you don't need to walk it alone. So I want to be there for them in this season of my life now that I'm on the, transition side. But yeah, it was the faith and the church that stepped in that really helped me. And then from then on, once he was back, I got my master's. And right from there, we went off to Conakry, Guinea, West Africa. So I was literally still nursing my baby and doing my dissertation on the second baby. and off we went. But I have to preface, my entire life has been kind of nomadic. I didn't grow up in one little small town with this, huge family around me. And that happens a lot too with military spouses. They're so ingrained in their one little town, and then all of a sudden they're plucked out of it. And that's a shock too. And that takes some adjustment. But I grew up in a State Department environment. My dad was a diplomat with the Foreign Service. So every 3-4 years, my lifestyle was moving to a new country, a new continent, usually a new language, a new school, new playmates, everything was new. And I lived on several different continents. So in a way, marrying into the military was kind of a path I was kind of set for, I guess, because I've been traveling and being in this transition state my whole life, moving around and adapting and being flexible and just dealing with what's put in front of me and, working the part-time jobs, staying home sometimes to be full-time mom, wherever we live, whatever the season brought. So that was my past. So marrying to the military in that sense was like, okay, I'm used to moving around a lot. And that's why we're on the move again now. Both kids are out of the house. It's 10 years in one place, I think in San Clemente. We started and ended in Camp Pelton Marine Corps Base, which is funny. We started and ended at the same duty station. But it was like I was getting that travel itch again. We're like, we got to keep moving. We've been still too long. What's going on here? So yeah, I've been kind of in movement my whole life, and it'll probably be like that till heaven. But at one point, I'm going to settle down. One day, maybe. I think when the grandkids come, our daughter's engaged now, so that's a new season. But I think once there's grandkids in the mix, I'm not one yet, so I'm open ears to all those grandmas out there for that feedback. But I heard we go a little cray, and so I might be pulling up with my van wherever my kids are moving, wherever there's grandbabies, and settling there for a while. But until then, we're doing all that exploring and living that we couldn't do in the military. They told us where to go, what to do. We didn't have a choice in the matter in a lot of things. And now we have our own sense of freedom. We move when we want, where we want, and no one's giving us orders anymore. And we got to do it while we're younger, we say, because there's a lot of van lifers in different seasons. A lot of millennials and young people are picking this up. And that's why I do van life consulting too. They kind of see the magic of like, yeah, let's do this now while we're young and we can move around. And they're the ones hiking and doing rock climbing from Joshua Tree. And, then there's the other side of the 70, 80 years old. I mean, we took my mom to Canada and Alaska this summer, 84 years old. We were moving a little slower. And then, you see people like they're just sitting with their nice big Class A at the campground, but they're not getting out much because the body is starting to break down when you're in your 80s. So do it while you can, So that's why we're kind of in this season of transition.
Wait a minute. What part of Canada?
Oh, yeah, I missed you because you're on the eastern side. So, and I told you I didn't know Canada was so big, but we went up through Montana and into Tok. But yeah, we went all the way through Banff National Park. It was Banff, Jasper, and that whole trail. And then into Alaska from there for like 4 or 5 months, towing my mom with a mini Winnie in our Sprinter van. So it was amazing, incredible. It was her bucket list thing. She's like, take me to Alaska before I die. And then the pandemic and all that. And she's already camped with us a bit in Florida. So she kind of got the itch a little bit and was like, when is this thing going to happen? And we're like, yeah, what are we waiting for? If we don't do this now, like what's going to happen in another 1 or 2 years? So we didn't quite make it to Dorothy. I didn't realize Canada just went on and on and on. And then we were all the way at the North Pole in Alaska. I'm like, we can't get this all done in one trip. And then my mom had to get back to Germany. I told her to do a one-way ticket. So she flew one way. I said, we're not doing no round trip, no zip through, Canada and Alaska. Taking our time. The whole purpose is to slow it down. That's why I'm the reset coach. Reset with Vanessa. Take it easy. Enjoy the road. Enjoy the journey, not the destination, right? Because like military life was like, get to the destination, light up destination. Now we're just on a season of journey. But another time, maybe I'll make it to your side.
There we go. Your husband must be a saint to vacation with a mother-in-law in a small confined area for 3 months.
More, I think. Yeah, she was there. We were like, I think it turned into like 4 months, but yeah, he is a saint. It's amazing. And they have bonded. They've come a long way from, I sent a postcard to her when I was dating this guy in the middle of Africa saying, fell in love with a Marine, moving to Rome. That's all she got. So that didn't start the relationship off very well. He didn't get to really meet her first. Like literally, if I could find that postcard, if she has it, fell in love with a Marine, moving to Rome. That was it. Like, bye, Mom, on my way. So now she writes him letters to himself, like addressed to him personally. I'm like, oh, some mail. He's like, that's for me. It doesn't have your name on it. She writes him letters. She sends him texts. She called him for his birthday and they talked forever. And so, they have a special relationship, and he really is a saint to deal with 2 women like that. I mean, he had his moments where you could see his eyes were almost crossing, but that's a good thing about being in the wilderness. He would just hop on his mountain bike when Mom and I were still waking up and taking half the day to get together. And he'd go up and down the mountain, and just get all that adrenaline out. And he just needs to be moving. And we found a nice flow ebb rhythm. It was amazing. So because she had her own little casita attached to us, every night she can go to sleep in her own space. So it gave her privacy. She had her own kitchen shower. So we bought the thing in Arkansas on the way to get her. We had still no figure it out, right, Mark? I'm like, where's Mom sleeping? I don't know, because we've had our son on the floor for a week or 2 with a yoga mat. We weren't going to do that to my mom for 3-4 months. She said, just get me a tent. I can sleep outside, Well, like, yeah, with the bears and all that. No. So, but we were able to buy the little mini Winnie tow and sell it all within like 3-4 months. Just put it on Facebook Marketplace. When we got back to California, I was starting to like that thing. I'm like, let's put it in our yard. We could do hip camp. My husband's like, stop with the ideas. We're already renting our house as an Airbnb, which is why we're in the van so much. So he said, put it up for sale. And we sold it to another veteran, which was so cool. It was a military vet that just on OfferUp on a phone app. And he was just starting his journey of getting out of the military. Didn't want to deal with salesmen and, RV shops. And so, of course, he met us and was like, it was all set up for him. The kitchenware, I had it all. It was the woman's touch was in there. It was ready to go for him.
Wow. There we go. Vanessa is that person that everybody, you just put your touch on everything, Vanessa.
I had a lot of help from angels out there, and it's teamwork. My husband, without him, the van life would be a little different. Maybe there are a lot of solo female van lifers out there. I would shrink down my van a little more and maybe travel in packs and groups. I've done talks on that too, on van lifing alone with women. But having him alone, I mean, we get spoiled. He does all that stuff with the car and, under the van. Like, we fix everything. We try to live with, whatever we can in our means and YouTube it all. Don't outsource as much as possible. We barely dine out. But then he's a chef too. Like, for him, it's therapeutic to catch the fish and then get out of the kitchen. Okay. So I'll sit there with my glass of wine and watch him chefing it up. And like, I sent you that picture, right? The lobster. We just were lobster catching yesterday, and he brought that thing up, and other campers came. He's like been hosting people. He's like, I need a day off. Like, I'm like, yeah, friends know you're going to catch something. They want to come to the same campground, and then they're just sitting outside, enjoying the conversation, waiting for him to come out with the big stew of lobster. But I love it, which is why
How long has he been retired now?
It's been about 10 years now.
Oh, wow. Well, that's why he's so relaxed now.
That's why he's so relaxed. Yeah.
Why was the first, like, when he first transitioned out, what was it life like for him back then? Because I'm sure that had to be a heck of an adjustment.
Yeah. And for most vets it is, and I've got resources for people to do this. So please, speaking to the vets out there too, it takes probably ideally 3 to 5 years before you even retire to kind of set yourself up for the next path. Because when you don't have all those ducks in a row and all the people speaking resources into you, and hey, this is kind of the emotions you're going to go through, and then let's just work on your disability, VA claim stuff now. A 3-day of TAPS, transition assistance program, is not enough to start over. And there's so many vets that fall through the cracks that way, and they end up in depression and suicide, all kinds of stuff. So starting earlier and having support is huge. For him, thank God, like, he had his faith, and he's not one to talk about his emotions, talk about his feelings. It was just kind of like, okay, it's happening now. Like, this is happening. Where I gave him a farewell party at our local community pool, and had a bunch of people come and had a band, and it was like a big serenade. You're out now. And the next thing he did was pick up a paddleboard and his fishing rod and went to the ocean. And we had discussed if I'm staying home now, and the kids were in high school, and I'm like, do we need both parents home? It's going to be a lot of like parental overwatch. Like, maybe I'll go to work for fun and you stay home. And he was like, yeah, go. That's fine. I'm staying home. He was like, I'm like, are you getting another job? All that. So he had already decided, no, he's not going to work for anybody else again. Not saying yes, sir, to anybody else again. He's doing his own path. So that's the path he chose for himself. And we set ourselves up for success with, home investments and money investments and savings since we were married young. So it worked for us. It can't work for everybody. So it's a blessing that he could stay home and didn't have to jump right into another job. But I wanted to go have some fun. So I became a project planner and went to go work for a solar company. And it was like playtime for me. I could get dressed up and go to work, like, and drive down the freeway. When some people are like, oh, are you crazy? Like, we're trying to get out of that life. But it was for a season, and it was an adjustment too, because he didn't have me there to kind of manage all those things I was doing, like I said before, on the back end battlefield. So like the carpool mom, I mean, I had all this stuff in place, and it got passed on. Okay, you're the stay-home dad now. And I'll never forget, oh my gosh, first day of work, my cell phone, I turn it off, put it in a drawer, because it's my first day of work. I'm not looking at my phone. Right. Big learning curve too, going back to like techie world and Salesforce and workflow. I mean, and I was going to work early. I was staying late. I had 200 customers. I wanted to make sure that I was giving them the best customer. I got customer of the year or customer of the month 1 month, and then they laid me off another month after I set up all these systems. So I'm working for myself now. But yeah, he had carpool duty, and my phone, I had 40, I think it was like 42 or 43 messages from moms. And at the end of the day, I got in my car and I turned, I'm like, what am I missing here? And they're like, it was all, where's your husband? Where's, and I messaged him, and he was fishing. He was on the boat and forgot it was his day. And so the carpool list shrunk really from like 5 families to the one on our street. And I came with a nice color coordinated chart, and every spouse had a different color. It was very organized after that. But those are the kind of things that fall through the cracks when mom was on the back end doing that stuff. And it was just like, man, this carpool thing's kind of annoying. I got to like be home by like 2 or 3 every day. Like, what is this? So I'm like, I made it easier. It's like only certain days of the week. We balance it all out between 4 adults, but yeah, things like that happen. And then I overworked and I'd burn out, and I'd come home frustrated and tired. And he's like, you're not the CEO. What are you doing? And I'm like, I got to prove myself. I'm a working woman now. And Oh my gosh, it was a roller coaster. But after the layoff, he was so happy. I came home with that little, like, just a severance check thing, and my box after I trained all these young kids from school, and they hired them all for, my salary, and they could pay two people. And I came home with that box and was like, I'm laid off. And he's like, best day of my life. I got my wife back. And I realized he wanted me home more. He wanted me around. So I have to acknowledge that too. It's not like we were trying to live in two homes separately. We always put dating a priority and taking care of each other before the children. The kids knew we were a united front, as much as they tried. They got the way a little bit when on the deployments, like they knew. I mean, dad was gone within like an hour or two with that sea bag. I knew he wasn't going to be back for 5-6 months. Next grocery store run, it wasn't the Honey Nut Cheerios, it was like Frosted Flakes and Apple Jacks. And I'm like, no, we don't eat that, And oh, they worked me. They worked me when dad was gone.
Well, you can't really blame them.
I know. Wouldn't you if you were a kid, But it was.
That's the kid's job.
That's the kid's job. And they learned very well how to work, mom and dad. And it's like they knew, like the day dad came back, like, oh, the two little minions were two different children again. They're all falling in line. And, so I had to, it was a rough road for me to do the single parenting. And, having my German mother helped, she would be with her wooden spoon. No, 9, I mean, that was new to them. And we ate leftovers and we don't throw food away. And I mean, it was really good actually to have that connection built, because now they're close to my mom. And my mom even gave my daughter her wedding ring for her proposal that we were just up to in Maryland. So my daughter's now wearing my mother's ring, which I'm going to cry. And then my daughter put our birthstones in there. I didn't know that was all revealed, when we were up there. She put my birthstone for me and my mom's. So it's like those kids, those military kids, they can be bratty sometimes, but they are resilient and they will grow up independent. And the fruits of your labor, they will shine one day. You might not see it straight away and be in that season, but they will shine for you.
Absolutely. Wow. That you just said so much. It's just like Vanessa has said like an hour show in 27.
Right. Yeah. You said we have less time today. So got to pack it all in there. Exactly. And you can learn more. I have a book collaboration coming out with 20 authors. They're not all military. It's different walks of life, but I do touch on my Peace Corps experience there and falling in love. The book is called I Love You Because, and then I Love Me Because. It's an interactive coffee table book. So half the book is going to be on I love you and the other one I love me. So the I love me is all about like self-worth and self-love and not being so hard on yourself, which is huge for military spouses. The clients that I've coached for military spouses, we have a lot of self-worth issues and we don't believe in ourselves as much and limiting beliefs and all that. So the book is it's a combination of essays. Some authors are writing essays. And then they gave us, the publisher's amazing, and she gave us such a breadth of different venues to work at. So you can also put pictures, you can do audio, video. So I've got a lot of photos. I have a lot of very picturesque life because of the van life and the travel. So my words, I felt like couldn't even express, but I could throw some pictures up there. So I have the pictures, which I kind of explain. And then there's QR codes that will link to either an audio or video. For me, it's an audio telling a little more of the story of my love life. Cause it was like the Marine Corps and the War Corps and the Peace Corps. I mean, people thought we were going to last like one day, and it was kind of like a forced kind of blind date hangout thing, but it's evolved into just amazing bonded soulmate relationship thing. So yeah, it's called I Love You Because and I Love Me Because, and it'll be coming out in January. There's also going to be, I think the publisher is getting a Google line or a Google phone number so that you can call in and read parts of the book and add your version of what resonated with you and what are you loving today. And it could be a person, place, or thing. There's an art show happening with the book apparently that we didn't all know about, that just kind of came together in like Pennsylvania next year. So really excited to be a part of the book journey because it's another way for a military spouse to express herself. Then yes, my husband does think I'm off my rocker sometimes. He's like, who is this woman? From like changing diapers to being in the back with the babies and let's get moving again to the next duty station, make it happen. And now he's like, you're doing what? What's a podcast? What do you do on there? And I'm like, I have my own show and I interview people, and now I'm launching out. And so I say we're kind of like wallflowers sometimes. We've been on the back on the like wallpaper, just like moving around with our men. What do we do? Shh, be quiet. Don't talk to the command. Just look down. And now it's like, oh gosh, we're unleashed. I'm peeling those ladies off the wall. I'm building a military spouse community so we can all support each other in our online FOB, I call it, forward operating base, and just be there to laugh with each other, to cry, to support, because nobody understands you unless you've walked that walk, like the firefighter community. Like you don't know until you've lived coming in and out burning fires and what the wives feel. And when the doorbell rings at night, you don't know what news is going to come on the other end of the phone. So yeah. My husband's like, what have I created? He's just getting on the boat, but he caught 3 more fish today. So he's in his happy place.
He probably likes the solitude being out there with the fish on the water.
I know. I'm really surprised he wants me around so much. I mean, he would tell me like, can you get a job where you can talk all day? Like you can use up all your words all day. And then you can come home. And I did that project management all day on the phone with customers. And then I come home and I'm still, and he's just like, wow. It never stops. So yes, the boat is kind of his sanctuary. We did run a boating ministry too, taking out injured vets with PTSD back when we lived in California. So I want to kind of start that up in Florida at some point, but I need my captain, I was the co-captain, he needs to be on the same page with that right now. And he's just enjoying the solitude more on his own. And I said, oh gosh, I had this vision. And he tells me, don't put me in your vision. I don't need to be in your vision. I'm like, oh, but you're the captain. Who's going to drive us while I'm coaching and we're doing the sunset with these military families, But yeah, so the boat, the solitude, the paddleboard, he still goes back to his first love, which was the paddleboard fishing. I never finished that story, did I? Like literally within the first few days of him retiring, he was on that ocean. And I realized ocean therapy was his medicine. That's how he stayed grounded. That's how he just decompressed. And the paddleboard fishing turned into, boating ministry and fishing charters for a bit. So he always loved going back to his first love. We were camping on the beaches of Mexico. I have a video of him reeling in like an amberjack. It towed him all around to the shore, which was nice. And actually he hooked up to 2 sharks at our last state park and they were towing him out to sea. So thank God he didn't want to get that far from me. He cut the line and returned back to the campsite. But yeah, the solitude, if he ever and I tell him like today, I said, listen, I have some calls to do. We've been moving around a lot. I'm still kind of in and out of a business that I'm doing. So enjoy that time on the boat alone. Go enjoy that quiet by yourself with no other guests on there, just you and the fish. And so he did, but he's like, well, it was work. I didn't have someone to help me with the steering. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm his co-captain. He tells me where to drive and park and anchor, and then he jumps in the water. And we were both in the water looking for lobster. And I try to catch those darn things. They're so quick. I use that tickle stick and that thing, and every time it just zipped away. And then he just goes down, make it look so easy. Just snaps it up and comes up with it. I'm like, oh, he's got to show off that Marine, but he keeps me on my toes. Well,
if he couldn't catch a lobster and he's a Marine, hello.
Exactly. We don't use the word no much and can't in our house.
Well, every Marine that I know, it has to show off, and like they know how to do everything, and yeah, there is no I can't do in their vocabulary.
Right.
So it doesn't surprise me at all.
No. And I have to say, show off is not what he is about, and that's part of a characteristic that I think attracted me to him. He was so humble and so reserved, and I guess I was so not. I was like, "Hey, Vanessa's here. Vanessa's on deck. There's vibe. There's energy going. There's color." I had my hair braided, dreadlocks, Peace Corps look, and he was just so humble. And like at the 4th of July, one of the first events we hung out at, the Marines were all like at the bar trying to pick up the ladies that came in. I mean, there were like 200 Peace Corps women and 6 Marines at this duty station. So do the math. Like, how's he going to remember? Yeah. I'm not even trying to compete with this stuff. I'm doing my thing, But he was the one that was in the pool with the kids doing the water balloons and playing with the kids. And I was like, oh, okay, something's different about that guy, So thank God. I guess my parenting, my mama raised me right or something, that I was looking for the right characteristics. So I had a little less baggage to go with. Right. But it builds up again, too, with deployments and PTSD. There's baggage. Yeah. It's part of the human experience. But Absolutely. We get through it.
So how have you been able to work with him to help him? Because just being in the Marine Corps, going on deployments, PTSD happens. Everyone comes back. I use the analogy in the fire service. We're never the same as we are the morning we leave for shift. And we always come back a little dinged and dented. The inside's still good. It's kind of like a can, that old can of Campbell's soup that's sitting in the back of the pantry that's been dropped 1,000 times. It's banged up, it's dented, but you're still going to open it up and it's still good on the inside. How is that for you dealing with, I guess, early on? Because I think that's where more people can kind of get that foothold in, that first newlywed's first deployment, and he's coming back a little bit dented.
Yeah.
Changed a little bit from how he left you.
Yeah.
How was that dealing with that?
It was hard. There's no sugarcoating it. It was hard. It was challenging. We both evolved. We both changed. I was hanging on to my faith and praying, I felt like constantly, for his safety, for his units. And when he came home, he was amazing in how there's good and bad ways to handle it, I guess, but he was able to compartmentalize. So I never knew what was going on in the office. He never brought that trash home. I didn't know. He could have had the worst day, commanders and people yelling or death, like all kinds of stuff. And he just would leave it at the door and then focus on myself, focus on our kids, sit with the family. It was amazing how he could compartmentalize it. But I think compounded over time with deployment after deployment, you see things acting out in different ways. And it's like, oh, okay, it was compartmentalized for a reason, maybe to keep the family just safe and stable. But then as the kids grow older, like it manifests in different ways. So I've learned to deal with it with working on myself first, because we can't change anybody else, but we can work on ourselves and learn more to have empathy and see what we can do. So that's kind of why I went down that whole life coaching path too. It seemed like something of value I could bring for myself too, to know how to handle it, how to do resources, how to be there for other people that were experiencing it on the other end. So how I just dealt with it was just, again, the prayer, and then learning myself how to have compassion, and then learning resources for them, and coming alongside, like, I'm the wife. Sometimes he doesn't want to hear, I'm a life coach and I'm a wife and I got some tips for you. Now, do you think my husband wants to hear that? No, but then there's other groups in his life that he can lean on for that. So, every time we've moved around, we've tried to find another home church. So I have like a women's group I can go to, and we do silent prayer there, which is amazing. You're just sitting in silence, and you get a lot of silence for him on the boat. So he's handling it by decompressing on the water. Like as soon as he's on the water, as soon as he's doing a paddleboard, as soon as he's doing something active, he can, get out of that state of stress and anxiety. But it's a constant ebb and flow. And I think now that I'm in this life coaching, he's more aware maybe when he's starting to get a trigger with something, because I'm talking to other vets about it. I'm in that space more. So it's like, I'm not telling him directly how to do things, but he sees me with other people and how they're, slowing down their breathing. They're trying to set boundaries with negative relationships and whatever. And so things spin off and things pick off, they fall off to the spouse. You're living in the same house. You're sleeping on the same pillows at night. So, and this is a full-size bed. So there's no much hiding in here. So, yeah, it's a work in progress. I don't think we're never going to be the same. We're always going to be broken, and it's a fallen world. I mean, we came in the world broken, and then you add in high stress jobs, and there's always going to be that. So how quick you can overcome it and recognize when you are falling into that wayside of depression, maybe isolating, leaving your family out of stuff, like use support groups. There's church groups, there's other veterans you can talk to. He's got a handful of veterans, and they can message each other anytime, day and night. They will probably respond to each other and support each other as needed, and it seems like every time we do the van life, I've got a laundry list of people to stay with. I mean, I'd be like, Dorothy, what's your address? I'm coming by. But he's always like, oh, Vanessa with her list. We'll never get anywhere because I will have a list of people to go connect with. But we do seem to pass some of his veterans that, he's veterans from boot camp, veterans he's deployed with, and they're just like the same people, like, hey, passing through this state. And it's like, we always have a place to stay there. They connect again. They go on the rooftop and have a cigar and joke and smoke about the past. And so, yeah, for him to have that bond and separation is good. And actually, I wrote an article. Actually, I'm writing one I got invited with a group to write for Stars and Stripes, which is kind of cool and exciting too for me. So my first article is having healthy tips to have alone time in a marriage, because we're together so much. It goes so much, right? It goes from separation to like being glued together always. Like, you don't want to be out of each other's sights, and you can get kind of negative behavioral aspects to that. Like if you start to feel really needy or dependent, or we can't think for ourselves because it's like, oh, my other half isn't there. So I just go over tips on the importance to have that space to kind of build your own identity, to find things that you want to do as a spouse, things that maybe were put off the back burner at one season, like myself. And now I have more time for that because the kids are out of the house. Some women are starting businesses with children in the house. Like everybody's doing it at a different season, but having that space so that you can just be apart, it's healthy to have a little separation. And then you come back and you just are more in love with each other. At least that's how it is for me. And I would love that to be for other military relationships and firefighter, anybody in those high stress jobs, to be able to come back to each other, unite, and thrive in their next season. I was having another conversation with someone. You don't just want to wake up every day and ho hum, this is my life. And no, you want to thrive in that season and appreciate and be grateful for what you have. So I'm just there to help people that are maybe just stuck along the way. We all get stuck sometimes, but that's what support's for.
Absolutely. I find that even in a civilian marriage, it's nice to have that time to yourselves and then to come back.
Mm-hmm.
You appreciate each other more.
Exactly.
Would I want them on deployment? No, but to have a weekend away or a couple days away or even a day is nice.
Yeah, I know. So when women would be like, oh, he's gone for the weekend or 2 or 3 days, like we'd almost get like, furious. Like, how can you make a comment like that? Like, my guy's gone for like 9 months. What are you talking about, 2 or 3 days? But if we're high school sweethearts and you were never a day apart, that's traumatic. That's big for you, So that's what support's for. And it's wonderful to have people like you that are giving a voice and a space for the spouses, because it is the unsung here. I mean, we don't want to call ourselves hero. It's all a team effort. Like I said, we're the back end battlefield.
I have a question. So when he was on deployment, did you have any support within like other military spouses?
Yeah, I usually had just a few close friends that I would bond with. So we were doing a lot of meals together, dinners together. It seemed like we were invited sometimes to families that had the full unit with the spouse there. But honestly, like, it was hard to go into a home when the whole family was sitting at the table, and then your kids are like, where's our daddy? And they're at that young age. So you start to kind of self-isolate with other military spouses that are on deployment. They had, at the time that we were stationed in a few spots, I was a key volunteer. So that was a way I could also get involved and give back of my time. The key volunteers kind of just helped hold the fort down when the guys were away. And they had all these acronyms: key volunteers, KV. They had the FRO, the family readiness officer, that kind of oversaw all the spouses that were left behind. And they would have maybe like a quarterly or monthly get together, different seasonal things. But you got your core group and you stuck with them, and you just did life together, kind of like the single mom life, but you're not totally single because you still have a guy, who loves you, and you're praying he's going to come back to you one day. But yeah, you hang out with a lot of other women and children. And I did I started a Melaleuca business too, doing a wellness company. So in Hawaii, it was more expensive to find a job and put my kids in daycare. So every season of change, like where are we living? Oh gosh, daycare is so much here. I'm not putting my kids in daycare and wasting my whole paycheck on daycare. So that's where women start doing their own entrepreneurship businesses, things like that. So when I did Mel Luke, I was always with a group of military women, and we were going around the base. It got a little crazy. I mean, I was going to Pampered Chef parties, Scentsy, what's a Premier Jewelry, like everything there was out there for direct sales. We were all rotating around. The candles got out of control. I mean, my husband would literally have talks with me when he left, like, shouldn't there be something more you're worried about? And he's like, you got to stop with the candle shopping. Okay, like slow down with the candle shop purchases when I leave. I'm like, if I want to set my whole house with candles when you're gone, like that brings me peace and it calms me down. Like I'm doing it. So, which is funny now. I think he feels bad for that. He buys more candles for the van than I do now. When we go out and we're going off to another place, I'm like, oh, you got it. Oh, this smells nice. It's a mango scent candle. And he's like, yeah, I saw it in the store. So all those years of telling me to slow down with my candle purchase, now we get one or two in the van here and there.
Damn, too bad I didn't know you when I was selling Party Light.
Oh gosh, I went to that too. I've been there, done Pampered Chef. I had more stuff than the rep. I had a party at my house and I put everything on the table. The rep started to unload her car and I said, well, come look at my house first, so you don't double up on stuff. Her eyes went this big. I wasn't even a rep. I was just loving my Pampered Chef stuff and pineapple. I'm in Hawaii. Got to get the pineapple slicer, And she looked at my table and was like, I don't need to pull anything out of my car. You have more than I do. And I was like, oh gosh, this is a problem. So
you should became the rep and got money for it.
I know. How many little side business can I do at once? I'm like you with your shows, Dorothy. Like you've got so many shows going. It's like there's only so many hours in the day. And in the end, true. I gotta save that time for my hubby and building memories with him, with the van life, hiking and doing, fishing and getting out into nature and it's such a crazy world now and the news and all that. Like we just want to stay positive and live on our cocoon. Oh my gosh. I remember we were camping once during the pandemic. We were 8 months on the road we rented our house in California and just went off into nature. It just so happened, serendipity. We found this used van and we were off grid somewhere in Montana or Wyoming. Came back a few weeks later and all this news about BLM started going on. And we thought BLM was Bureau of Life Management because that's where we live. And I'm like, what's the deal with the striking with the Bureau of Life Management? They can't take this away. We love camping on our BLM land. This is amazing. But it was a whole Black Lives Matter movement. We had no clue. And, that's a good thing sometimes to just be off grid, living your life in nature, catching your own brookie trout with your grasshoppers that you stored up in your plastic bottle. I mean, every time I try to get fruit, I'm like, I need a night at the Ritz, my hair. And this night's like, I met you in the Peace Corps in Africa. You can handle it. I'm like, darn, he always can hang that over me. Like, didn't I meet you in a mud hut, like with sand floors? What are you complaining about?
But tell him you're a princess now when you needed your day of.
Yeah, I'm over 50. I'm a little more of a princess now, but he's working with me.
I love that.
Mark's very pensive. He keeps thinking like.
I'm trying to take it all in because it's just almost information overload at this point. And
welcome to my world. Talk to my husband.
Yeah. Oh, he's coming on next. We got to get him on.
Good luck trying to get him on. I've heard the stories. Good luck.
Hey, we could do it on a boat. I'm happy with that.
That might work. That's right. You're in Florida like us, so you never know.
Yeah. I'm only 6 hours from you right now.
That's right. Oh, that's right. If you end up in the Keys, I could tell him, well, that guy on that podcast, he's coming down. Tomorrow, we actually have friends from Hawaii whom we bought our little Geo Metro from. When we landed in Hawaii, we went to the military base, and it was a little tiny car with a stick shift. And I never drove. So that was the second car he got, stick shift. That's right. The first one he got at Camp Pendleton, he brought it home. I said, I don't do stick shift, honey. He's like, well, you do now. Get in the car. I was just crying like, I don't know how to drive a stick shift. I forgot. I can't say can't. So this couple we bought this little Geo Metro from, it ended up with us all the time in Hawaii. It's our little island beater car, a little white Geo Metro. That thing has been on so many bases. The Marines used to try to move it into different parking spots when my husband was at work. They had fun with this thing because it was so light. They turn it sideways and oh boy, he got some guys, they had to buy him new tires. He said, okay, I need some new tires. So you guys have messed up, touched my car. So you either buy me new tires or we're bringing this up to the, the commander next day. And they all pulled their money together. We got some new tires after they were moving our little Geo Metro around. So that car came on a carrier to California. We kept it on our on our driveway for our kids that were just starting high school so that they'd have a car. I mean, that car, we like to use our equipment that we've gotten and, recycle it. And, it's that Peace Corps thing. Can't throw anything away. So this couple we bought the car from, they saw me doing a Facebook post that they're wearing the keys. They had a family reunion going on in North Carolina. They're retired military. So we're meeting tomorrow. They're renting a car and they're coming to the campground. So Mom was like, what? Are we entertaining? But he did just catch 3 fish again. He's like, ask them if they like fish, because it's going to be fish dinners for a while. So maybe Mark will be down here 6 hours away.
You can always freeze fish.
Oh, yeah. We were fishing in Kodiak, Alaska, and had to freeze it to get it back to our house in Florida.
It's never the same, though. It's fresh is best.
I know. Fresh is best.
But on that, ladies, we're approaching that hour mark. And I hate to be the bearer of timing news, but when Dorothy and I started this, we said hour maximum. That drive home from work time. And Vanessa, you're an amazing person. I'm absolutely thrilled to have met you and heard your story. And I want to have you back and hear about the Peace Corps.
Wow.
That's a whole season. A whole season in your life that, especially people in my generation, don't know a whole lot about. I've heard about it, but I don't personally know a whole lot about it. So I'm intrigued to learn more. And I think it's a good thing for those that may be listening to this, because it is an organization. It is something that's still out there that does make an impact in people's lives. But as we sign off on this episode, which I've lost count already on which episode this is.
7.
I think we're on 7.
It's 7, 8. I don't know, and it's all right. Somebody will tell me. Someone will put it in the comments and be like, "Oh, hey, you don't know how many episodes you did?" Yeah, I don't care how many episodes we do. Because we're going to do these because it's important that we bring people on and they can share their stories. And as we part tonight, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Vanessa, for coming on. Dorothy, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And I just want to remind everyone that in times of need, reach out to those resources. Call for backup. Call for that support. Call that Mayday. Something that, as first responders, and military, we're so ingrained on doing when we're in uniform that we don't do when we're out of uniform. And spouses, too. Call for that help. There's a whole network that's available for you. And if you're going through something, you're feeling a certain kind of way, if you're going through an experience, trying to deal with something, trying to deal with your husband's first deployment, you're sitting at home with a new baby, there's somebody that's been there before. And there's people that are more than willing to help you and get you through it and learn from those that have come before us. And just remember, even in the darkest of night, the sun's still going to rise tomorrow.
Beautiful.
And with that, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you so much for having me. Like I say, charge your soul, not just your cell phone. So you guys are doing that. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. And Vanessa, where can people reach you if they wanted to connect with you?
Yeah. Simplest way is the website, resetwithvanessa.com. So traditional name, Vanessa, Vanessa. Reset, because we're resetting in a certain season of life, regrouping, just slowing down, all that. So that's why it's resetwithvanessa.com. So you can get more information there. Thank you. And for VA disabilities too, since I'm an affiliate for a third-party company that helps with VA disabilities for those guys working on their disability that are struggling with that VA paperwork and the claim process. This can be daunting and overwhelming. I went through it with my husband. I am also helping vets look into their cases, look into their rating sheets to see if they in any way can qualify for a higher rating. So reach out for me there too. All my information and contact form is on the website.
Absolutely. There we go, guys. Connect with Vanessa if you need help with any of that. And we'll see you same time, same channel next week.